Chapter 5, La Galette. On ancient maps of Canada sometimes appear the names Anse-la-Galette, Pointe-de-la-Galette, La Ville-la-Galette, La Nouvelle-la-Galette, Cove Point, Old, and New Galette. Old Cove Galette was at the north shore of the St. Lawrence River, at the site now Johnstown, Ontario. Pointe-de-la-Galette was at the tip of the Fort La Présentation Peninsula, now Ogdensburg. The cove and the land beside it were cited by Jesuit historian Pierre-François Xavier de Charlevoix, who suggested that a fort should be built there. This was not done, but a warehouse was constructed to link Montreal with distant posts of the colony. After Fort La Présentation was completed, the warehouse at La Galette was abandoned. Boatmen, however, gave to the fort the name La Galette, which means cake in French. So there were two galettes, the old and the new. A voyage to La Galette also meant a trip to Fort La Présentation. Two galettes caused numerous errors in English history. Amherst referred to Fort de la Galette, as did some military figures in England and Canada. Smith's History of New York referred to La Galette or Oswegatchie. Joseph Antoine Lefebvre de la Barre, governor of New France from 1682 to 1685, stopped at La Galette in 1684. He advocated construction of a fort there, but the French government turned a deaf ear to his proposal. Charlevoix, commissioned in 1720 by the French government to seek a route to the Western Sea through Canada, left Montreal in May 1721. He traveled on the St. Lawrence River, Great Lakes Ontario, Erie, and Huron, Lake Michigan, and the Mississippi River, and arrived at New Orleans in January 1722. He returned to France in 1723 and presented his report, which was ignored. In 1744, he wrote Historique d'un voyage fait par ordre du roi dans l'Amérique septentrionale, the first general chronicle of Canada ever published. Greatly taken with a bay which they call La Galette, Charlevoix wrote, "They will shun by this 40 leagues of navigation, which the falls render almost impracticable and very tedious. A fort would be much better situated and more necessary at La Galette than at Cataraqui, because a single canoe cannot pass here without being seen, whereas at Cataraqui they slip behind the islands without being observed. Moreover, the lands about Galette are very good, and they might in consequence have always provisions in plenty, which would save many charges. Besides this, a bark might go in 2 days with a good wind to Niagara. One of the objects which they had in view in building the Fort Cataraqui was the trade with the Iroquois. But these savages would come as willingly to La Galette as to Cataraqui. They would indeed have further to go, but they would avoid a passage of 8 or 9 leagues, which they must make over Lake Ontario. In short, a fort at La Galette would cover the whole country between the great river of the Outaouais and the river St. Lawrence, for they cannot come into this country on the side of the river St. Lawrence because of the falls. I could not sufficiently admire the beauty of the country between this bay and La Galette. It is impossible to see finer forests, and I especially noticed some oaks of extraordinary height."